Hello, folks. I'm not going to spend too long at this because it is my birthday and I don't want to be in the house all day, so I might go to a diner or something. But over the last couple of days, I've done some sessions and they started becoming very interesting in the line that for a number of months, the name Ed had sort of disappeared and started coming back again. Now, what happened there was I didn't get the name Ed until I bought an RTC box from a guy called Rob Hernandez. Now, Rob Hernandez was making spurt boxes, but he was also doing sessions on his channel where he was bombarded with the name Ed. I get my box anyway. I start using it straight away. Next thing, Ed starts coming up, and it's just kind of weird because I'm in Ireland. The box came from America, and that's where Rob is. It's kind of weird, and you know, you can sort of throw theories at it all day, but it's one of those sort of mysteries. Now, recently, another name started coming into the picture, and that was a name called Ian, and somebody that was Carl, who was in my chat yesterday on a premiere, pointed out Mortis used to get Ian a lot and that. And I forgot about that, and actually I've watched one or two of Mortis the Wizard's videos, but not very much. And last night I started watching a couple of his videos, but then I says maybe I should do more sessions, see what I get, and then go back to the Mortis videos and see if I can get any information there. And this is why when you get information like this that's common with somebody else, and you got to remember too, Mortis was in Australia, I'm in Ireland, and people around the world are getting similar names coming up on a regular basis. It's quite strange. Now, people often talk about para-unity, and most people would say that para-unity doesn't work. The problem there is, in some cases, we sort of have to have some sort of para-unity. I don't like to call it para-unity at this point because it's a bit cringe, but in ITC, now the real ITC researchers, the people that are doing it right, they record ITC sessions to gather data, and people have been doing that for years. The thing is, if you're on your own, you've only got your own data to go by unless you sort of look at other people's videos as well to sort of compare and that. But it's very, very difficult to find the ones that are doing things naturally, letting things record, not making a feature film out of a session. And that's where people sort of want para-unity, but they know it's not going to happen. But within ITC, you do have small groups here and there, and that's where small groups can work where other bigger groups can't work. And the reason why people sort of get together is, yes, their data is important, but it's very useful to be able to compare data from one to another. These common names that people are getting on their spirit box and their ITC sessions is not, it's not manufactured like, for example, Mosarji done a video where he went into this abandoned house, and ever since he has been tormented by a spirit called Tom, and that was basically a publicity stunt so he could put Tom my boy on a t-shirt. That's not the way that it's happening with the real ITC, where you let the session run naturally, and that people are getting common names and stuff, and it is kind of strange because the Ed situation, it not only happened with me, it happened to other people that bought these boxes. But the thing is, it went from just being on that particular box to coming up on the other radios that I was using as well, and it's kind of strange. It's very very difficult to say it's definitely this and it's definitely that, because the paranormal is just, there's loads and loads of theories, and it's very difficult to sort of pinpoint it down to an exact science or an exact thing, and the fact that Ian's coming up now is pretty sort of interesting. In a general paranormal sense, it's very very difficult to have a common goal when there isn't a common goal, if you know what I mean. I went down a rabbit hole this week looking into different things, especially sessions in relation to murder cases and stuff. And I was on a channel called Random News, and he had brought up this woman that was murdered, and her body was found in a freezer. And all of a sudden, then I'm not going to call it the paranormal community, but people seen an opportunity to get attentions and cash. They call it the Kanika cash. The person in question was called Kanika Jenkins. All of a sudden, people got psychic overnight. And while the police investigation was going on, these so-called psychics were not coming up with theories, but coming up with things that they claim was sort of fact of what exactly happened, which sort of puts them in a slander situation. And I can't understand for the life of me why some of these people don't get sued. Do you know? You have to be very, very careful of what you say and stuff like that. But these people were extortionists. These people seen this opportunity to get that attention, and it was a hot topic at the time. And they went for it, and the goal wasn't the paranormal side, it wasn't the real psychic side. It was to get self glorification and get attention on their YouTube channels or social medias and stuff like that. And the stuff that I had seen was some of the biggest cringe I have ever seen in my entire life. It is just, to put that under the same umbrella as the paranormal is sort of, it's putting the paranormal into a bit of a shithole, to be honest with you. The annoying part of that is that they get more attention than the real paranormal does. And that's why people get frustrated. And yes, sometimes we whinge and people don't like it. And I don't like whinging, and sometimes I do. I've called out Charlie Chittenham, I called out Steve Huff. Some people don't like me doing that. And, with a negative frame of thought. But when you look at people like Charlie Chittenham, walks up to the attic, every single video, walks up to the attic, sits down on the floor, and says, hello, YouTube, my name is Charlie Chittenham. Today we're going to reach out to the spirit of blah blah blah. I have my PSP7 here, which I'm going to scan. I have connected it to a speaker to enhance volume, and as exactly what he says every single video. And he turns on the spirit box. He takes out a script of questions, asks those questions, doesn't listen to the spirit box, and the spirit box session, if you could call it a session, is over within a couple of minutes. And he gets thousands of views. And us that are doing it for real don't get a look in. We're invisible on YouTube, and that's why we're frustrated. We really are. Yeah, maybe I could, on my other channel where I have the sessions, have intros and stuff like that. But, sort of, I'm in it for the sort of data and stuff like that. And I understand that YouTube's a entertaining platform. But the thing is, the fakes and the frauds are, they get the views we don't, But the thing about it is, with the sessions on the other channel, I might get 10 to 20 views within a week, and then within a couple of weeks it might go to sort of 30 views. But the thing is that those people that do look and they do listen to the sessions and that, they're real truth seekers. They're not there for the entertainment. It's, as an entertaining aspect of it, it's quite boring. But paranormal research sort of is, But the aspect of the paranormal, you've got the real and you got the other aspects. The focus isn't the reality of it. The focus is on themselves, making money. People like Charlie Chittenham I don't know if he's still doing it now, but you can buy. You were able to buy personalised spirit box sessions for something like £15. And I'm looking at the other videos and I'm saying, do I really want a personalised session when I see the quality of what's coming out? And then that particular channel, the reason why it took off, he's got something like 90-something thousand subscribers, is he done some sessions related to stars in India that passed away, and us all of a sudden he got an influx from India, and it just blew up, sort of thing. And that's all these kind of people are in for. That's what they're there for. They're not there for the research kind of thing. And at the same time, we just have to carry on, do what we do, the best way we can, you know. Um, but, at times I do get frustrated because I'm trying my best here. It may not be the best, but I'm trying my best. And these other people are you know, but then again, would you consider them real paranormal? Like, they're using the paranormal to get attention and that, and manipulating the paranormal to do that. So, there's a there's a fine line between sort of entertainment and the reality of the whole thing. It's just sometimes I do get frustrated. I really do. I do think that there's people out there that really, see that aspect of the paranormal where there's the reality and the entertainment, and people, by their body language, by the way they are on camera, that it's about them. It's not about the paranormal. They want to be famous in the paranormal, and they twist it into entertainment to get there, sort of thing, and but there's those that will sit down and look at a video and say, listen, this person has turned the spirit box on. It's quite obvious that that scan is that spirit box. They've got a reputation of being very honest and good, and they'll stick with that, and whatever comes out, there could be something amazing coming out. They know it's genuine because the session hasn't been altered or edited, or there hasn't been overlaid audio. They know this particular person. It's about the trust. And that's a very, very massive thing when it comes to ITC and it comes to the paranormal in general. Has that person got a reputation over the years of being persistent and being truthful all through that time? You can't sort of judge a reputation sort of on one single video, but some people do. I often wonder what people think, or what people try to picture when they're doing a paranormal investigation or even an ITC session. What is their picture of what they're communicating with or what they're investigating, because we don't have a visual picture of that. But what is in one's imagination when doing the paranormal or doing ITC? Now, when I grew up in school, and it probably resonates with a lot of people. I was brought up in a Catholic school, and what was drilled into my head was that there's earth, there is heaven, which is up in the sky, and there's hell, which is which is down below, which would say that hell is the center core of the earth, sort of thing. But in a way, it's going by Bible scriptures, which isn't a scientific book. We know this. But when I was working with the science teacher way back years ago, we were doing bits and pieces. We were looking into Marcello Bacci, and then he brings to me another VHS tape with a guy called George Meek, and actually the video was Bill O'Neill supposedly having two-way contact, a two-way conversation, where there's about 20 hours of recorded two-way conversation with a doctor in science of some kind. I can't flip and remember now, but the the conversation was flowing over and back, and the doctor was giving him information and stuff like that. Now, when we sort of looked into that, we started picking holes. You know, um, you know, I'm not going to go into that. A lot of people have picked holes in it since, sort of thing. But George Meek had a sort of a theory of, and some of this actually fits. Instead of just earth, heaven, and hell, the afterlife has a number of different dimensions or frequencies, if you will, like a radio. Say if you tune into a certain station and you tune into another station, it doesn't mean the other station doesn't exist because you don't hear it. It's just, it's on another frequency. You can't hear it because you change frequencies. And that concept was that there was a number of different frequencies in the afterlife, a couple of different dimensions. He backed this up with a quote from the Bible. There are many rooms in my Father's house, which he thought may reference different levels of existence. And it sort of fits because, you talk about paranormal investigating and stuff, and a lot of people are talking about, spirits from the 17 and 1800s, but nothing a couple of hundred years before that. And the reason why it kind of fits is when somebody passes on and goes into a certain dimension, he explained that the first couple of dimensions closest to us, we can communicate with them and they can communicate with us at times if we have the equipment right and the right conditions and stuff like that. But when they ascend to a different frequency further up the dimensions, that contact is too far away. That dimension is too far away for us to communicate and them to communicate with us. And that might be the reason why we don't get ghosts and spirits from a couple of 100 years ago. But it's a theory. It's not backed up with a lot of facts like a lot of the paranormal, but it's interesting all the same. But sometimes when I turn on the spirit box, I kind of wonder, when other people turn on the spirit box, what way do they picture the paranormal? What way do they picture the contact? How is it done? Some people think that when you turn on the spirit box, you attract spirits into your house. I think it's a wee bit more complicated than that. Yes, I was able to prove that they can see me, they can see colours, they can see numbers on cards and stuff like that. And the reason why they can see me is often when I ask this question, I ask for the colour of a piece of clothing, and a lot of times they were actually correct with the colour. Sometimes when I ask the colours, I get the wrong colour, or I get the wrong number, or I get the wrong answer, but it's down that same sort of line. But when you ask and straight off the bat it just comes out with that colour, it's kind of weird. And I'm sort of wondering, is it a kind of is that energy a kind of is it like a radio station where it's broadcasting? It can see, but see it from afar, kind of thing. If you're talking about pure energy, I don't know, you know. But I don't know. I don't know if I could go with, maybe in the beginning I pictured, that, you turn the box on and all the spirits comes in. Oh, Sam's turning on the box. Let's go talk. I don't know if it works that kind of way. I kind of drifted away from that kind of thinking a while back. Yet I did ask in a session about these multiple dimensions of existence, and I explained that theory, and I says, is that true or false? I said false. And I says, well, you tell me. And then they said three. So is there three different existence in the afterlife? I don't know. But it just, every time it makes you think. It makes you think, and it makes you sort of update your frame of thought, kind of thing. It's always changing, even though there isn't a physical proof of that picture that you're trying to put into your head. It's always sort of evolving in some way. And in the future, can we prove any of this? Maybe with technology advancement, possibly. I don't know, but I sort of, it's gone way further than when we were told in school there's earth, heaven and hell, and that's it. Heaven is one place, hell is another place, and earth is another place. I think it's more complicated than that, I'm not saying that the Bible verse is actually referring, that line in the Bible where it says, "There's many rooms in my Father's house." Is it really telling us that there's multiple existence in the afterlife? Is heaven divided up into a number of different dimensions or frequencies? I don't know. And then again, you bring that sort of strong theory to a scientist, and they'll say you've attached a Bible verse to that theory, which makes it a little bit more difficult, because the Bible isn't a scientific document, and science tries to stay away from the Bible as much as possible, because it is not a scientific piece of literature. And that's it. Oh yeah, I've seen a spur communication session, if I could call it that, this week, which is possibly one of the worst sessions I've ever seen in my life, where the person was yet again trying to solve a murder case, and calling out to the victim. I can't understand why people let the police do their job. That's what the police do. If the spirit box or paranormal research had any definitive 100% answers, they would have got people like that to conduct, help in their police investigation. But that doesn't happen. The odd time there's psychics brought in, but real psychics, not these people that want to be famous on the internet. But anyway, and it was sort of funny as well, but that's why it's stuck in my mind. They start off with a torch, and you know this method of you screw the back off the torch and you sort of connect it up until the spring is just about hitting the battery, making that connection sort of thing. And you ask the spirits, if you're here, please can you light up the torch? And when it lights up, they obviously ask it to turn the light off. And no matter how many times people are told that this occurs because of heat expansion and contraction, they'll still run with the narrative that spirits can communicate with a torch. I'm not saying that they can't, but if there's a big massive piece of scientific evidence saying that this is your fly in the ointment, it's time to rethink the situation. But anyway, it went on from the torch going on and off and wow and all the rest of it to a spirit box session. Let's turn on the PSP-7. And anybody that knows a PSP-7, it is very, very thin. It's about 3 or 4 times the thickness of a phone. It's not very narrow. It's tall, or it's not very thick. It's tall and it's very narrow. So when you put it sitting on a surface, it's not 100% stable. But during the spirit box session, anyway, the spirit box was sitting on a kind of a table, and in the background there was this window. So there was a light on in the particular room, and you could see you could see in the window, you could see the room, the reflection and that. But anyway, during this spirit box session, anyway, the spirit box falls over and the person goes, "Wow, guys," And just at that second, somebody else in the room walks across the room, and then the spirit box falls down, and you could clearly see it in the reflection on the glass behind. And I'm saying, this person obviously knows afterwards that somebody walked across the room, but they're just not going to say anything because they just want to hype it up and that. And it was just flipping crazy. Next thing anyway, they decided, let's do some communication with an EMF device. So you got the ghost meter. It's an EMF meter. It's not brilliant, but it's okay, sort of thing. But anyway, the EMF detector is going up and down and stuff like that. Where do you think the EMF meter actually is? It's right beside the torch that is still sort of flickering on and off. And while it's flickering on and off, there's spikes in the EMF. And I'm thinking to myself, this person has been doing this for a couple of years now. Wouldn't you think they would have learned something? Because there's people out there that actually point this shit out, but they just continue doing some stupid stuff. And this is the thing. People have these EMF detectors, they have these devices, and they know nothing about them. But I think it wasn't really about that. It was really about sort of grabbing that attention, and people, the feel of the need for people to go, wow, that's brilliant, and that. Even when there's so many flaws throughout the communication and stuff like that, it's just flipping crazy. And it's this kind of stuff that sort of, it niggles people so much, kind of thing. I actually pointed out some of these things, and I tried to explain it to them. and I got completely ignored. Because that's sometimes what happens. I know better than you because I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years and blah 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 blah. I'm just pointing out something that sort of that most of us have flipping learned. There's people that learn. There's people that are given the information and then they think, that's not right, and they continue on doing the same thing. Yes, they're getting the same results, and then they're not. They don't want people pointing out the things that can affect these pieces of equipment that you need to take into account. They don't want to listen to that because they want that attention. And if you point out these things, like having an EMF device beside a device that's producing EMF, you're going to get a reading for the device that's producing EMF, not paranormal communications. And if there is paranormal communications, it's polluted by the device that's producing the EMF. But they just don't flip and listen. And I don't know. This person been doing this for a couple of years. They just don't listen to people. There is people out there that are stubborn. You try to help, and if they don't listen, you just move on. But there's so much of that stuff on the internet that we all get tarred with the same brush, and that's why sometimes we feel the need to say, let me give you a helping hand and explain this to you, and us pointing these things out doesn't mean that we know, we're know-it-alls or anything like that. It's some of this stuff is just simple science. It's sort of it's common sense, and it's common sense in the paranormal sense, kind of thing. We all start somewhere. I've made loads and loads of mistakes. I can say that. We've all made our mistakes. We've all used a lot of us have used EMF detectors in the wrong place. Beside pieces of equipment, beside spirit box and stuff like that, and then somebody points it out to us, and then we go, "Oh, flipping hell!" So that evidence is we can throw that piece of evidence out and stuff like that. But some would just flipping argue with you all day, sort of thing, and I just go, oh, flipping out. But I thought I would describe that session I seen this week. There is people out there that they want, just because a device triggers off doesn't mean that there's ghosts. And I think this person thinks that it's an EMF detector. It's called a ghost meter. So if it goes off, it's ghosts. It's marketed as a ghost meter, but it's actually an EMF detector. It's an EMF device to measure electrical fields. That's what it does. So for it to go off, it doesn't mean it is ghost. But some of these people insist it goes off, it's a ghost. It's crazy. But I just thought I would share that session that I saw this week. It's just amazing, and that's why some of us get frustrated, because you've got so much of stuff out there on the internet and that, and and you got so much good stuff. The thing is, when there's bad stuff, we all get tired with the same brush as the bad stuff instead of the good stuff, if you know what I mean. It's sort of like society. People like watching EastEnders and watching drama on YouTube instead of the good news and the positivity or stuff like that. It doesn't get as much attention as a piece of drama or something like that, and that's the way sort of society is kind of gone, sort of thing. Oh, before I go, people were asking me about Rachel and how are things and stuff like that, and we haven't seen Rachel on the channel in a long time, and probably people are thinking, do we fall out or anything like that? No, I'm in Rachel's house every couple of days. Um, Rachel's actually quite busy. Busy. She's been making herself busy recently. She's actually opened a. She got involved in a counselling charity, and she actually became manager of a shop, and yeah, recently they had to move out of the old shop and move into a new shop, and she was, in between that, she was appointed manager for the new shop, and the new shop recently opened, and you know, she got the shop a couple of weeks ago. It was a bare shell. There was no paint on the walls or anything like that, and it actually was a former antique centre, and actually it did have some paranormal activity. Well, it was an antique centre, but it was divided up into different sections. It was divided up into two shops, and then above it, new apartments or whatever. But she got half the antique centre, if you know what I mean. There was a partition put between it, made the area smaller and that, and she had to choose the paint and the decor and stuff like that, and she done a really really good job. So she's been busy with the charity shop and stuff like that. So and fair play to her, on getting that far, into managing a shop and stuff like that, and it's brilliant and that. The only reason why we haven't been out is because I haven't been well. But it's starting to come into spring. The temperatures are starting to rise. My body doesn't react well to colder temperatures and that. And winter time I do suffer and that. So hopefully we get out to places soon, and we'll try and get to new places we haven't been to before and stuff like that. How I'm going to approach it in a paranormal way, I'm still sort of thinking it through, because like I said before, a lot of paranormal investigations, it's kind of run off a paranormal TV show script where they do certain things and stuff, and I'm thinking there has to be another way. There has to be another approach to this kind of thing. But then if you go down a path of a different approach, would people be interested? Is it too off the norm? People are used to the TV script, and if you go off the TV script, will people stop watching you because you're doing something different? I don't know. It's all up in the air sort of thing. But there is places that we can go that we haven't been to before, and we're going to try and get to them soon. Listen, I'm going to go because it's my birthday and I don't want to be sitting in the house all day. So I want to get out while the weather's good and stuff like that. So I'll talk to you again soon. Bye bye.